Tonight, when you close your eyes, something strange is going to happen to your brain. Images will appear that you did not choose. People will show up who may not exist. You will run from things that cannot hurt you, or fly over cities you have never visited, or sit inside a house that somehow feels familiar even though it has never been real. And when you wake up, you will probably forget most of it within minutes. You have been doing this your entire life. So has every human who ever lived. But here is what almost no one asks. What did it look like before the modern world existed? Before cities and screens and deadlines and strangers on the internet? When your ancestor lay down in a cave 50,000 years ago and their brains switched into that same strange mode, what did they see? The answer is not what you expect, and it tells you something about yourself that you carry every single night without knowing it. Start with what a dream actually is, not the mystical version, not the Freudian version, not the version your friend described over breakfast, the neuroscientific version. During REM sleep, the part of your brain responsible for logical thinking goes quiet. The prefrontal cortex, the part that knows you are dreaming, that can say, wait, this does not make sense, largely disengages. At the same time, the emotional centers of your brain, the amygdala in particular, become hyperactive, more active in some studies than when you are awake. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley has described this as your brain running a kind of overnight therapy session, processing emotional experiences without the chemical stress of full wakefulness. You are not resting when you dream. You are working. But working on what? Antonio Zadra at the University of Montreal has spent decades cataloging the content of human dreams, and one of his most striking findings is this. The overwhelming majority of what people dream about is drawn directly from their waking concerns, their fears, their unresolved problems, the people they care about most, the things they are most afraid of losing. Dreams are not random. They are a curated replay of what your brain considers unfinished business. And that changes everything about what ancient humans would have dreamed. Think about the actual texture of their daily life. Not the romantic version, not the noble savage version, the real version. Your ancestor 50,000 years ago woke up every morning with a set of problems that modern humans almost never face directly. Where is the food today? Is there enough water? What was that sound in the night? Is the person who left the group 3 days ago coming back? Is my child still breathing? These were not abstract worries. They were immediate, physical, life or death questions that occupied every waking hour. So when your ancestor closed their eyes, their dreaming brain did what your dreaming brain does. It rehearsed. It ran simulations. It replayed the close call with the predator from that afternoon, testing what you could have done differently. It imagined what lay beyond the ridge that the group had not yet crossed. It conjured the face of the person who frightened you and let you process the fear without the danger. Antti Revonsuo, a Finnish neuroscientist and philosopher, developed what he called the threat simulation theory of dreaming, which argues that the primary evolutionary function of dreaming is exactly this: practicing responses to dangerous situations in a safe environment. Your dreaming brain is a flight simulator. It lets you crash without dying. If Revonsuo is right and the evidence is compelling, then ancient human dreams would have been dominated by the same themes that dominated ancient human life: chase, pursuit, escape, hunting from both sides of the equation, fire, falling, social conflict, who is in the group and who is out, children in danger. These are not ancient themes. They are the most common dream themes reported by people alive today across every culture that has ever been studied. You still dream about being chased. You still dream about falling. You still dream that your teeth are falling out, which researchers believe maps onto ancient anxieties about physical decay and vulnerability. The content of the dreams has updated. The architecture has not moved at all. Here is where it gets stranger. Around 40 to 70,000 years ago, something shifted in human cognition. Archaeologists call it the Great Leap Forward, or the Cognitive Revolution. Suddenly, the archaeological record fills with art, with deliberate burial, with objects that serve no practical purpose except to carry meaning. cave paintings that took hours, sometimes days, to create in the deepest and most inaccessible parts of cave systems, far from any habitation, often reachable only by crawling through passages so narrow your shoulders scrape the walls. Figurines carved from bone, showing creatures that do not exist, half human and half animal. Bodies fused in ways that have no equivalent in nature. Archaeologist David Lewis Williams at the University of the Witwatersrand spent years studying the cognitive basis of prehistoric art, and his conclusion is as radical as it is persuasive. A significant proportion of the earliest human art was created by people in altered states of consciousness. Not metaphorically altered, literally, neurologically altered, and the most reliable and universal altered state available to every human who has ever lived, every night, for free, is dreaming. Your ancestor did not just have dreams. They had an explanation for what dreams meant. They were not confused by the experience the way a child is confused the first time they try to describe a nightmare. They had a framework. They had a story. And that story was almost certainly religious or spiritual in nature, because in every known pre-modern culture on Earth, dreams are not experienced as brain noise. They are experienced as contact with another world, the world that exists parallel to the waking one, inhabited by ancestors, by spirits, by forces that intervene in human affairs. When your ancestor dreamed of a dead grandmother, they did not think they had generated that image from memory. They believed she had visited. That belief is not naive. It is actually the most logical interpretation available if you have no knowledge of neuroscience. Something real is happening when you dream. You see, you hear, you feel, you move, you encounter beings with intentions and personalities. If you do not know that your own brain is constructing all of it, what else would you conclude? The spirit world theory of dreams is, in its own terms, an entirely rational response to a genuinely extraordinary experience. And so your ancestor woke from a dream about a mammoth appearing at a certain river, and they told the group about it, and the group went to that river, and sometimes the mammoth was actually there. Because dreams drew on real sensory memories and real environmental patterns the dreaming brain had processed and connected in ways the waking brain had not yet made explicit. When the prediction came true, the framework was reinforced. Dreams became prophetic not because they were supernatural, but because they were actually drawing on information the conscious mind had not yet organized. This is the counterintuitive part. Your ancestors' dream world and your dream world are built from the same brain processes, the amygdala running hot, the prefrontal cortex going quiet, the simulation engine rehearsing fear and threat and loss and longing in the dark. The difference is not the machinery. The difference is the story told about the machinery afterward. You wake from a nightmare about being chased and you say it was just a dream. Your ancestor woke from the same dream and said the spirits are warning me. Both of you felt the same terror. Both of you carried it into the next day. The only thing that changed was the explanation. And here is the part that should stay with you. The reason certain dreams feel more real than waking life, the reason a nightmare can ruin your whole morning, the reason you sometimes wake with grief for something that never happened, is not a glitch. It is the system working exactly as it was designed. Your brain does not know the difference between a simulated threat and a real one. It was never supposed to. A predator in a dream triggers the same cascade of stress hormones as a predator in a field, and that is a feature, not a flaw. It kept your ancestors alive by making practice feel like reality. Tonight, when the light goes out and the world you control disappears and something else takes over, the thing that takes over is ancient. It is older than language, older than fire, older than the first painting on the first cave wall. It has been running every night for hundreds of thousands of years, rehearsing your fears, processing your grief, simulating your dangers, visiting your dead. Your ancestor closed their eyes in a cave and saw things that terrified and amazed them, and they woke up and told the story to the people they loved. Tonight, you are going to do the same thing.